Production. This here be strictly for the listeners.
What's up? It's your boy Maze Jackson once again for the Maze Said Radio Show and Podcast, live right here on www.IntellectualRadio.com. We are an iHeart radio station, and we have an exciting show for you tonight. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, so what's up to everybody on the Facebook Live audience? You can get us on www.IntellectualRadio.com, where we are streaming live. You can also download the podcast tomorrow night, maybe even tonight if we're lucky. If my man Earl, if we have a good show, we might make iHeart tonight. And I'm about to tell you, we should be I'm pretty close to guaranteeing that we are going to have an awesome show tonight, because we are going to be recapping election night 2016. We're going to be talking about some of the very interesting dynamics that are going on, both Democrat and Republican. We'll talk a little bit about the races that happened at the top of the ticket, all the way down to that state reps race that may have been the most expensive race in history. Oh my goodness, boy, what they will spend to keep them on the plantation. Good Lord, it's going to be a great show. We are going to have a good time tonight.
I'm waiting for that part of the show.
Yes. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we have an action-packed show in studio with me live. Beyond my super producer, Earl, say what's up to the people. That's Earl back behind. You can't see him. He's doing all the magic behind the scenes. I have my good friend, former Cook County Board President, Todd Stroger. What's up, Mr. President? How are you?
Maze, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for inviting me.
All right, and I have to have who must be one of the most exciting men in the history of writing newspapers. I have Mark Brown, columnist. Guys, you're gonna see how exciting he looks. We are due for an action-packed show, and we are going to be talking all things political. And not only are we going to just be discussing the political, but I really am looking forward into taking a deep dive into kind of some of how this stuff will play out, both short-term and long-term. Now, if you are watching us on Facebook Live, I want to encourage you to share this broadcast with your friends. Share it. Make sure if you got questions or if there's things that you want us to answer or to interject into the conversation, make sure that you type your questions on the live feed, and we will get them in. Shout out to Vernon Spells. Vernon, I hope we can get the music up. Chi-Town Mason, what's up? What's up to my sister Tennille, to Carrie Steele, the love of my life. Chauncey, Roberto, we've got Chima, Daryl Jones. Is that Judge Daryl Jones? What's up, Judge Daryl Jones? Lance Tyson, DeJuan Russell, and my barber, Vernon Spells, watching us. Guys, we're already up to 65 live views. I think we're going to get this over 1,000. I think if you guys do a good job, we may even chop and edit this and then put it up in the YouTube stratosphere and make it a little bit bigger.
I need to do something crazy then.
All right. Actually, we're already at 40. We're already at 457 views. So I think we might make 1,000 before we leave this show tonight. All right. So, guys, let's get into it. Election night 2016, the primaries. Let's start at the top of the ticket. On the Republican side, Donald Trump seems to be running away with it. In Illinois, Donald Trump wins. What do you guys think? Tell me what your thoughts are on the race. He tried to come to Chicago, and they shut it down the weekend before the election. Is this Donald Trump phenomenon real? Does he have a chance of actually being the Republican nominee? And if he is, what does that say for the Republican Party?
I think definitely he's got a chance at this point. But I was one of the people out of here a year ago just totally dismissing this as like I wouldn't even write about him, because I just felt like it was an insult to people to pretend that he was real. Which
You're fired.
It shows what a great finger on the pulse of America that I have. So I feel like I'm the last guy to know what's going on here. But
no, you're not the last guy. I felt the same way. I think most people had any common sense thought that there's no way that this guy could become the nominee. But what he did was he tapped into the anger of what I think is pretty much like the middle class, who feel that they've been left behind, and in some ways they have. But his anger is so threatening. It's violent.
So I guess then I must be one of the crazy people, because I always thought that Donald Trump had a chance. And you know why I thought that Donald Trump had a chance? Because unlike my liberal friend Mark here, who likes to view the world through rose-colored glasses in some cases, I felt as though Donald Trump really spoke for the people who were not ready for America to change as fast as it's been changing. And I think that he speaks to I think that Donald Trump, the people that are voting for Donald Trump, are no different than the Tea Partiers, that are no different than those people that have expressed this frustration or rage with America as it is, which is why they want to make it great again, right? They're tired of all this equality, the gay marriage, the Caitlyn Jenners, to the black presidents.
They
right?
want it to be 1950.
And maybe not 1950. Maybe like 1985. They want to be in some Reaganomic type of Reagan era, right?
That's because you're young.
They want the good old. They want some Archie Bunker.
After the war was supposed to be the greatest time, where everybody felt like, oh, we all have a house, we all go home, we have a drink, everybody had a job. Across. See, in the 80s, well, you ain't kidding about that, but in the 80s, the difference was there was a ton of people who were out of work because of things like steel mills closing. So in the 50s, everybody felt like everybody was working, we're all happy, we don't have to worry about anybody coming strange in our neighborhoods. What a great life.
So to my two guests, does Donald Trump get the Republican nomination, yes or no?
They have to. He's going to win. And if he doesn't win, he'll be so close that they'll be fighting in the streets if they don't give it to him.
You know, I spent the day working on this and thinking about it because Governor Rauner, your funder,
Here we go. We're gonna
put this.
Should talk about that for 20 minutes.
That's later.
Let's get through the
Governor Rauner said today that if Donald Trump is the nominee, that he will support him. He didn't actually say the words Donald Trump, but he said he'll support whoever's the nominee. And the question was, will you support Donald Trump? So, and then he repeated it so to make sure everybody got the message that, yeah, he will support Trump. So what this says to me is that, even the big people in the party are starting to realize they can't run from this anymore. Right. And so I think, it's coming at us. I do believe that there will be a real effort to deny him at the convention. And
there will be blood in the streets.
I think literally there'll be blood. I agree. If they try to deny.
You see, they punch him. That 70-year-old guy punched that guy dead in the face. They are serious.
And he didn't blink about it.
He said he'd come back, he's gonna kill him.
They gotta have somebody in their face to punch him, though. Are these the kind of guys that go up against the police? I don't think so. I think that the police would treat them with. Not you, me.
I think the police would treat them with kid gloves. They try and figure out how they could get them to do as much as they could without it.
Now, Mark is in trouble too. He's a fellow traveler.
Okay. So we will move on. So let's go on to the Democratic side of the ticket, where Hillary Clinton pulled it off. And it seems as though she is now on a coast, is going to be able to coast to the Democratic nomination. Would you agree or no?
I agree. She is. What she ran into was anger on the other end, where Bernie Sanders,
one of the same other side of the
right.
other side of the
Bernie
spectrum.
Sanders has been able to tap into the anger, especially in the large cities like ours, where we have all this trouble with the police and such. And I think that's why he was so close. There's a lot of people who are like, we don't want the status quo, which she more or less represents in the Democratic Party. We want something different that's more radical. But you're right. She is going to win enough, and she's going to have enough super delegates that she won't have to worry.
I agree, except that coasting. It's going to be a coast with bumps because she's going to lose. She's going to lose some states here. I kind of wonder about California when, like, if she loses California, you know.
Do you really think she loses California?
I don't know, but they say she's gonna lose some of these western states, you know, and if he gets a little mojo going out there, you know, California you just never know what's gonna happen out there.
Well, here's what I say. Okay, so I agree. Maybe not a coast. Maybe it'll be a bumpy landing, but she lands with the nominee. Now, do we have a Trump Hillary battle to the end? What do you think?
What else would it be? Are you trying to throw a third one in here?
Well, I think a third party candidate only guarantees
Trump win.
No, a third party candidate only would guarantee a Hillary Clinton win.
You think so? Usually it's the Democrat who suffers when there's a third party.
The Republican would come in. The Democrats, if they got Hillary, they're gonna roll with that. They're not somebody. I don't see an insurgent coming in from the other side.
What if you get a Green Party candidate?
Big
with some real names.
Yeah, okay, like who? I think that if that happens,
is what's his name still alive?
I think Hillary Clinton would be tapping in. If somebody from the left came in, I think Hillary Clinton would be tapping into some of her black operations because she's not getting Baracked again. I'm just sorry. It's not going to happen. Let's move on down the ticket. Let's talk about U.S. Senator. So Mark Kirk will be facing Tammy Duckworth in the general election. But Tammy Duckworth took on two black opponents, Napoleon Harris and Andrea Zopp. Andrea Zopp, who was the choice of the black establishment, had some challenges building momentum in the black community. But what she did raise was, Tammy Duckworth, her lack of appearances, and particularly her lack of appearances in the black community. Now, there's been some rumblings, I've even heard on WVON, that people have called in and suggested that perhaps because of the Democratic snub at the national level of Andrea Zopp, that there might be a sit down on Tammy Duckworth. Have you heard any of that?
I haven't heard it, but it would not be the first time this has happened. And, I'm out in the South Side, and I don't think I've ever seen Tammy Duckworth. Maybe she's come out there.
Hey, she went to 95th L Stop to address that issue after she won.
After she won.
Mark, insights.
I have not heard the sit down. You'd be more likely to be engaged in that than I would. But I do. I think it touches on the same thing the Democrats have a problem with on the ticket here, is that there's not a lot of enthusiasm out there really for Hillary, and then I don't really think there's going to be a lot of enthusiasm for Tammy. So. I think what they're counting on is maybe there'll be enough enthusiasm for Hillary, and there's in the city, and then there's areas where Tammy does really well, and then hopefully they'll put up somebody. The Republicans will put up somebody against Kim Foxx and make sure that people come out for that race. I don't think they're going to, but. And that it balances out somehow, that everybody sees there's something there to vote for. Clearly the party wanted Tammy to be the nominee because they thought she had the best chance against Kirk.
There are races, and I've done this. I look down the list and I say, I know that guy, I don't like him, and I just didn't vote for him. So just having a good fight going on somewhere, like maybe the state's attorneys, doesn't guarantee that people are going to vote for every candidate.
Sure.
I think that Tammy Duck. I think that what I think is starting to become laid bare is the Democratic Party's lack of accountability to the black candidates. And I think that one of the things that not black candidates, but the loyal black audience, that are the loyal black voters. And I think that what you see right now, or what you saw with the Zopp entry into the race, was the black establishment, not the black grassroots, but the black establishment really trying to send a message to Dick Durbin and the Democratic DSCC. they didn't even give Zop the opportunity to interview. It was just a lock,
Democratic
stock, and
Senate
senatorial campaign committee, right? And
yeah,
so
I don't believe in letters. I like to hear it all.
but I think that the Zop candidacy was really a shot over the bow, saying, "Hey, you don't just get to take us for granted." All right, we're going to move down to another interesting development, and I understand, Mr. President, if you have to sit this one out. Let's talk about this U.S. Congress, the congressional race. Bobby Rush faced two challengers, Patrick Brutus,
Right.
who has run before, and Alderman Howard Brookins of the 21st Ward, who was also the former chairman of the Chicago Aldermanic Black Caucus. Interestingly enough, now it seemed like there was going to be challenges with Rush getting on the ballot early on, and apparently that all got worked out. Then Rush's son was apparently running against the assistant majority leader, Barbara Flynn Curry, at one point. And then the Speaker of the House, who is also the chairman of the Democratic Party of Illinois, goes against the incumbent and endorses Howard Brookins. What'd you think? And Howard and Bobby Rush runs away with it. What gives in that race? What'd you think? Why would the Speaker of the House, who only has the chairman of the Democratic Party of Illinois, who only has one precinct in the 1st Congressional District, in the first historic Black congressional district in the country, why would he weigh in on that against the incumbent?
I've heard the reason why, and I've forgotten. You must know the reason why.
No, I don't.
Remember. I can't. There is some silly little reason, and I'm sure that that doesn't have any real. There's no real love for Bobby there, so it was some accommodation on some minor thing.
Some accommodation.
Yeah, but those minor things are the things that get congressmen knocked out if they're not careful.
Well, clearly they did. There was no effort to knock him out. Otherwise.
No, I'm thinking of history. So when Bobby Rush ran against Charlie Hayes, and this is the logic that Howard used in his campaign, Howard Brookins, and that was how Bobby said the district needed someone with some energy because the district needed a lot of help. He needed someone who would always be at the district talking to people, would always be there voting, and it didn't look like the congressman had that kind of energy anymore. That is the exact same thing that Howard said about the Congressman Hayes. Now, Congressman Hayes didn't do an accommodation for some of the people who lived in the Southwest, and they went with Bobby Rush, and Hayes was out. In this instance, Bobby Rush has such good name recognition. Now it is so hard to raise money. I think it's just too hard to knock out an incumbent in this kind of atmosphere in a campaign where you can only get money from individuals and not corporations and groups and such. And I think that's what both of the other candidates ran against. They just couldn't get their name out. I don't think anybody knew they were running.
Let's put a pin in that, because I think that it goes to another trend that I think that I saw in this election, and I think may come back at some point to haunt. I just wonder about the rationale of the chairman of the Democratic Party going against an incumbent, right? What kind of signal does that send? So we're going to park that right there, and let's move on down to the next race that was of importance that everybody was excited about. And let's talk about the state's attorney's race, where Kim Foxx was the runaway champion of the race, soundly defeating Anita Alvarez and Donna Moore, who really didn't amount too much of a campaign, although she did have Wallace Gator Bradley and she did have John Davis.
That seems that's the most press she got, was that she had Wallace.
Well, let me just say, at least she hired some of those operatives are getting paid and got a job, and I think they were rewarded handsomely. And I think that, what I've learned in these campaigns, and one of the things that's changed me, is that I've seen that people just get paid all the way around. We're the only ones that are dying for loyalty. Everyone else gets paid. Right. Win or lose, somebody's plugged to that mail house that sent 300 mailers to your house. And so guess what? They're going to win or lose regardless of how it goes. So
on that point really quickly, is the people who I know who try to do black electoral politics. They like to do everything, but they realize that they're kind of stuck in the niche. They always say people call them in and they want to ask them questions and they want them to do something, but they never want to put them on a payroll.
Exactly. And so we have to look at that. So I want to go back to dang nabbit. So I want to go back to, let's talk about the race for, what race were we doing?
State's attorney.
State's attorney. Goodness gracious, guys, got me off my subject. State's attorney. So Kim Foxx was not the nominee. Okay, let's back up. We had a state's attorney, Anita Alvarez, who was probably not very popular, but probably would have coasted back, not coasted, but would have had a rough election, but gotten back into office, even though she did not get the nomination of the Democratic Party. And then the Laquan McDonald tape was released, and she wore the jacket for that. Now, the party then used that to then endorse Kim Foxx for a state's attorney. And Kim Foxx went on to a landslide victory. Now, do you think this is a victory that the party can claim? Or do you think that this was just destiny, that Kim Foxx was going to ride the wave in? Because we saw that even though the party endorsed the chairman of the Democratic Party of Illinois and Alderman Burke, both Southwest Side guys,
right,
turned out the most votes and paid for all of the negative ads that went against Kim Foxx. So do we think that this election can be claimed by the party, or do you think this was a people's election?
I don't think it was a party thing. I mean, I think it was a vote against Anita Alvarez. And I think there was already some of that out there. I mean, there was something to be worked with even before the Laquan McDonald thing. And then when that hit, it just helped crystallize it. And then the newspapers were, ready to go against her. And it just, everything fell into place, I think. And Anita didn't really have many friends in politics either.
Right. She was not. She did not have a lot of friends. She came in as an outsider, so that makes sense.
But not total outsider.
Right. She's not a total outsider.
Well, no, she was with
she had a lot of Irish friends.
But let me back up though. But she wasn't the chosen candidate at that time. She was not the chosen candidate at that time. She wasn't.
Yes, she was.
What wasn't it? Other guy, Milan? I thought Bob Milan was the guy.
No. Smiling Bob. No, Bob was, they both came from the office. They both came from the kind of daily divine tree, right?
Okay.
But he wasn't as much of an insider for some reason as she was. He ran from the outside. She got all the support from what I call the older white committeemen who represent Hispanic districts. And all those guys have some, they have real money and clout. So Daley, Burke, what's the guy on the north side? Mel. I don't know if Mel's Irish or not.
He's not Irish.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. His district is still like 85% Hispanic. All those guys supported her in that first election. Yeah, because you got to remember it was her, Howard, Suffredin, and I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. But
Tom Allen.
Oh, and Tom Allen. That's right. And Tom Allen. Yeah.
Oh, and they buried and Howard. We thought Howard was gonna win, and then they beat him up with the child support. There they go with that criminalization of the black man once again.
Yes.
Good God, why does it always work?
it always works, unfortunately. But yeah, I heard somebody from her camp say that they were surprised at how easily she was able to win. She did very well in the black wards.
They put the child support commercials on WGCI, and they put the child support commercials on WVON, and they killed them with black women. It was over.
That's right.
That's what happened.
But I think it's a people's movement, and if she had happened to win the primary, I think she would have lost the general, and we'd have a Republican.
Really? So let me ask you a question.
Black people will sit on their hands in a minute.
So now let me ask you a question. Does this make Toni Preckwinkle the undisputed heavyweight champion of Cook County politics? Now she controls the county board. She controls the prosecution, and she controls the defense. Looks like we've got some criminal justice reform on our way, boy. What do you think?
Well, she doesn't really control. Well, there will be some changes. I think things will. I mean, I'm they got to follow the law, but from the things that they can do administratively, I imagine we're gonna see some things done differently.
Well, I sure hope we can get us some free people. I hope everybody don't have to go to jail. Okay, we got one more race before we go to break, and then we're gonna get into the fireworks of it all. The moment that we've all been waiting for. But before we go, because it seems like we had another flip-flop in the clerk of the circuit courts race. Dorothy Brown was the Democratic Party nominee. Apparently, the feds came and confiscated her phone. The party ousted her, replaced her with Michelle Harris, and Dorothy Brown was left to fend for herself. Dorothy Brown was victorious on Election Day 2016. What does that mean?
I still haven't figured that one out. Except I don't think people turned against her. I guess I just don't think people paid that close of attention, and they didn't turn against her. I don't think the black community turns against her. I think she is a resilient person. That's my thing.
They be trying to get her, boy. It seems like they want to get. Does it seem to you, Todd?
I know they have.
Look at this. And it just seems like the press wants to get her. Like they want to hang her so bad. And let me just tell you. I'm gonna tell you a real close secret. Dorothy Brown owes some people that I know some money, and every single time I want to dislike Dorothy Brown, she does one of her amazing performances, and she is just good. She is just good at it.
She is.
You know what? If all it takes is for you to go to a Dorothy Brown stump speech, and I don't care what you think. By the end of the stump speech, she will have you doing the holy dance. I think I learned about Facebook Live from Dorothy Brown.
Dorothy Brown is a great
some
campaigner.
Of that stuff from her, the stuff she sells on the side?
Yeah, 5 links?
5 links, yeah.
I want a Bentley. I want to give me a Bentley. Shoot, well, speaking of that, Senator Patricia Van Pelt, Senator Patricia Van Pelt she got a 5 links car, and she won too, and she whooped Bob Fioretti, if I'm correct, didn't she?
Oh, yeah.
She handed him his. Look, Mark, you got to understand black people. We're a little different, man. See it the same way. And as soon as you go
No, that's not true, mate. We do see it the same way. But it's what success is. That's the question. Success in the North is, people having real estate and being lawyers and making a ton of money. For us, success is anytime we can make any money.
Success for us is if we can make the money without going to jail.
Hey, sports.
You are tuned into the May Said Radio Show and podcast right now. Right now, we are over 1,200 views tonight. We are blowing up. Stay tuned. We'll be right back for a behind-the-scenes view. Stay tuned. It's your boy, Mace Jackson, on the May Said Radio Show and podcast with my guests, Todd Stroger and Mark Brown.
It's hard work being this damn good. They wondered how could I top the last CD, but the gift of these words make what you hear now compared to what you heard look easy. And the last album was just a sign that it was time for me to be released from the earth. 3rd trimester definition, last stage before birth, the womb of my mind. Now I'm expanding my nostrils, particles of a new man in an optical, a new testament, the beginning of a new sentence. Black Ice, the definite article, and I become a part of you. 4 hours later, still serving you like a waiter, giving you wisdom like a father do. And I'm just hoping that you can keep up. I'll do the work, you just sit back and kick your feet up. Another job well done. Coming from Inglewood to Hollywood, strictly for the listeners. It's hard work being this damn good.
I put in work.
Oh, it hurts being this good.
I put in work.
I come on the heels of Rakim and Kane, KIS-1, Coogee Rap, PE Nas and Cool James. And even though I left the rap game, I'm still lyrically versed. Drop code from the last name and put black in front of the first. And with this gift comes a curse. That's where the hater comes in at. And with success comes the worst. That's where the traitors come in at. But I don't like to deal with nonsense. I'd rather drop knowledge and like a Jehovah's Witness knock on the door of your conscience. Now I done been to some of these poetry sets. And I done seen some of these poetry cats. They just not ready. When I walk into the spot, I storm brains and cause back pains because I'm real top heavy. Breaking records and letters. Hard goddamn work making you look so bad. It's hard work, y'all. Hard goddamn work for a couple men to make another man look so bad. Nothing can stop the flow of the pen stroke. The flow is so steady that it's serious. And you gonna need a pad with wings to catch the overflow. And that's all I need to say about that. End the sentence. Period. And all y'all who walk through the crowd reciting trying to emulate black. It's flattering that you cats wanna copy me, but I already got 2 sons trying to do that. And I got on my hard hat. Hands gripped around my number 2 sledgehammer, digging in between the lines of the page with calluses on my palm. All doing what I was told by my mom.
What's up? It's your boy Maze Jackson, and we are back with the Maze Said Radio Show and Podcast with my live in studio guest, former Cook County Board President Todd Stroger and Chicago Sun-Times columnist Mark Brown. Now, when we left, we were talking about Dorothy Brown and her victory, and I think we couldn't kind of figure it out. But I'm going to tell you.
No, I figured it out. Dorothy is the greatest campaigner in the world. And if you are not indicted, black people will not abandon you. And she was not indicted. So, they stayed with her. And even though
it's not if you're not indicted.
Is,
it's not if you're not convicted.
No, convicted means you got to leave your job. Indicted.
No, but I'm saying that black folks, if you've been indicted, but you ain't convicted yet.
Oh, you mean like Derek Smith?
Bingo.
Yeah, good point.
Bingo.
Good point.
I learned a lesson on that one.
I think if she'd been indicted, she'd have been in trouble. But
I think that if she was indicted and did not they didn't have a picture of her marching into the jail cell or marching out or something like that, she would have been fine.
Well, let's add the other thing in here. I mean, Michelle Harris was a terrible candidate. God bless her. I'm not knocking her as a person. I don't really know her very well, but she was a lousy candidate. And Jacob Meister, he didn't even get the white people excited.
I think Jacob Meister lost his campaign right here on this show when we asked him what's in it for the black people. Because I am telling you that everybody that I know hit me up like, did he not know what show he was coming on?
He didn't have an answer, obviously.
He did not have an answer. I mean, he was like, and then he does the up and to the left. So he's sitting there and the camera zoomed in on his face and he's lying. And he said, do you have any black people that work for you? Why, yes. What's their name? Sally Mae. Sally Mae. Really? You said that on camera? That was a classic moment.
So you think he saw that movie?
You guys are terrible. All right. So now let's go to one that's near and dear to my heart. The 5th district. Look at Mark, you leaned up.
Yeah, right. I got to be ready for you because you're going to attack it.
I'm not going to attack anything. The 5th district state representative race that pitted Ken Duncan versus Juliana Stratton, billed as a proxy war between Governor Bruce Rauner and Speaker Mike Madigan. Ken Duncan was soundly defeated by Juliana Stratton and her entourage of union patty rollers. All right. Okay. So, but a little known state representative district became the ground zero for Illinois, the battle for the soul of Illinois politics, as papers printed it. It was the proxy war between Governor Rauner and Speaker Mike Madigan that pitted those 2 state reps against each other. Now, we have covered that race extensively here on this show with my partner in crime, Charles Thomas, and we have talked about it as we called Ken the runaway rep that ran away from the plantation. And it seemed to be that he ran from the plantation, and the question to the community was was he run? Because I think that the community all agreed at some point that there was a plantation, but was he running from the plantation, from one plantation to another plantation, or was he running to freedom? Apparently, according to the voters, they believed that he was running to the other plantation.
He went from South Carolina to Alabama.
And there was a record turnout in that race. And so, quite frankly, actually, Representative Duncan got more votes than he had gotten in the previous elections. But
Which just goes to show how many people were interested in this thing.
But Juliana Stratton got 20,000 votes. That's more than President Obama. Jesus. So let's talk about that race where approximately almost $5 million was spent. Mark, I'll throw it to you. I've got a lot. So
I just want to know what you thought when you knew that the President of the United States was coming in against you on that race, Mays. Did you realize that probably it was over?
No. Let me just say this, and I'm a firm believer in the movie 300. Did you see 300?
No.
Okay, well, you should watch 300 because, quite frankly, everyone, if you want to know what it was like, that was like 300. That literally was like the movie 300. And I would say this, having been intimately involved in that race, I don't think that you can really quantify, when people talk about there being no more machine, etc.
Right.
I think there may not be a machine, but there still exists an infrastructure. And I think that infrastructure or lack of that infrastructure was laid bare in that race. I think that, but what I do believe is that when the President of the United States weighed in on that race, and I'll tell you, a lot of people that I talked to, particularly Black people, were like, wait a minute, you weighed in on that race, but you skipped over Kim Foxx, Laquan McDonald, all the things that we've waited for so many things, and you talked about that race. But when that happened, I feel like I knew that it was all in and anything was possible. And quite frankly, I was like, shoot, somebody, if there was some potential, the CIA might be killing somebody, right? So would you say when you heard that, I was just like, well, damn. I feel like this. I think that it's a sense of pride that you had to call the president, and it took $5 million to squash it out, and you had to call the president of the United States.
I was surprised to see that. I heard the radio spot, but then I saw the television spot, and that really surprised me.
Well, but the television spot wasn't it was only the radio put to pictures.
Yeah, that's
the radio spot put to pictures.
But it doesn't matter,
right?
As you know, television's a totally different medium, and you spend real money to get people to see your product 11 times, so they actually remember it. So I was surprised to see the president on TV talking about a state rep race. But Ken, I understand the part about you don't always want to be just the rubber stamp that has to do whatever the speaker says. But unfortunately, I don't use the plantation thing, but I do say he ran right into the arms of Darth Vader. Everybody sees Rauner as the enemy, and you're not going to get enough support when the guy you are becoming friends with is the guy that people think is choking you around the neck.
I mean, I think that there was, I think that it was a very difficult story to sell. And then when you look at it like this, here's what I see. And I think that looking back at the race, and this is just my 2 cents, I likened it to, I don't know if you've ever seen those lynching, like the lynchings at the picnics where the family is kind of.
Am I not black?
Okay, so Mark, maybe you know what I'm talking about.
They're not kind of they're having a picnic.
But they're having the picnic and the whole family's around and they're watching.
Yeah.
Right? And they're pointing I felt like what everybody wanted to happen was for the need to go down and humbly walk to the noose or walk to the fire pit naked with his hands tied behind his back and say this is the honorable thing to do. And I think that when you see someone, when Brendan Riley and the speaker went on that terror about the mugshots, right? I honestly felt like somebody in the black community should have been like, hold up, time out, right? We represent, how many black people have I have 4 mugshots.
I have to be honest, Mace, I was sleeping during that time. What happened?
Well, if you missed the when they launched the smear campaign, and then they started the mail with the Ken Duncan is abuser. He's a child. He's a deadbeat dad. All of that stuff. I felt it very disingenuous to come from white Northwest Side Irishmen, right, to be sending and bombarding this into our community. And I honestly felt as though,
well, it's just like you said about Howard. This is just the same type of thing. You try to paint them as some kind of a semi-criminal.
Well, it worked, and I think that
did it work? Because I'm thinking it wasn't working, which is why they had to get Obama in. I would say I did not like that stuff, especially because the party had sent him out there in how many previous elections, and none of that stuff bothered him before. I don't care whether they knew it or not. He'd been the party's nominee. Then to come back and come at him with that stuff. I never wrote anything about that. Never repeated it once. I didn't feel comfortable with it.
I would. Go ahead.
But so I couldn't tell whether it was working or not.
So living in the district,
right?
Literally, I had at least 10 mailers a week that told me that he was an abuser, that told me he literally, like, they were coming and they were just resending. And so it got really, really ugly. And it got, when you watch it and you see it and you're kind of like, whoa, this has gone just a little bit too far. And for me, I felt that it was disingenuous for the party, as we have this discussion about criminal justice reform, to take that tack, right? To take that tack and then want me to be, I just felt it was very disingenuous. And I think they're going to pay for it long term, because I think that every black politician that sat by and watched that, right, has the potential to be that when you fall out of the good graces. And let me just tell you, I've done a tremendous amount of research since that happened. And I'm just telling you, it's going to be a lot of people with issues if they start going down that path.
I've never seen the party do that. I mean, I've seen local elections where, one side.
No, it was the party. It was literally.
But not the party make that.
And I think that when I'm going to tell you that and I would say, some would say that I've been a loyal operative, and I have been at all levels doing all types of things. I feel like that fundamentally shook me. Like, I feel like it fundamentally shook how I view the party, right? And I've been in some stuff. But when you see it go down like that, and I do believe, let me tell you what I believe. I believe that going into early voting, Kim was there still. And I think you can see it in his vote totals. And because there were so many unknowns and there were so many people, I'm just looking at the numbers on a daily basis.
Right.
No one could tell where the votes came from, right? No one could. And
you don't know who's who.
Our pluses were coming in heavy, right? His pluses were coming in pretty heavy. And if you looked at a vote total where you were basing it on 11,000 votes turning out, 12,000 votes turning out, Duncan runs away with it. When it's 20,000, right, and you're seeing your percentages coming in, but then when 20,000 people show up, right, and they just all are like, we're here. But I still am interested in seeing where those 20,000 votes came from, because I still think for the 5th district, that's a tremendous amount of votes for some place that typically only voted. That was more votes than Obama got in 2008. She got.
No, you're right. I shouldn't say you're right, but I know from when I was a state rep that Our ward votes heavily. Our ward, the 6th, and I had part of that. And when I got in the 20s, I was like leading the pack. The only person who usually did better was Monique Davis.
She got more votes than Speaker Madigan, bro.
Yeah, once you get close to the loop and stuff, people they don't
drop off. Well, beyond that, they're all freaking. There was a contested Republican primary. All I'm suggesting is if you own the machines, if you own everything up the chain, and if everybody's got to eat, and the president of the United States, it couldn't be close. It could not be close with the president's endorsement.
No.
They could not allow it to be close. It just couldn't be. And I'm just saying like this. The man got 8,000 votes, right? So he got more votes than he normally would have gotten in a state, which means that they raised the awareness. I'm not tripping out, but I'm saying 20,000 votes. She got 20,000. Somebody's finger was on some scale somewhere. I'm not saying she didn't win, but I'm saying that could you imagine if it was a squeaker and the president of the United States got involved in the race and it was still a squeaker? They don't call the president of the United States.
Well, there was a ton of people. I mean, my children go to school in that district, and where the precinct they were at, Old St. Mary's. I mean, there was 2 people there. One of them was Kwame Raoul, and the other guy was wearing a fluorescent shirt that said
"Sellout."
Yeah, dump the sellout. And I saw other shirts on my way there with people there. So yeah, I mean,
I thought it was 10-1 at every.
Bro, do you understand? The reality was, do you understand that there were people phone banking in Carbondale, Illinois, into the 5th district? When I tell you that watch the movie 300, and you will understand what Duncan was facing.
I know the story. So yes.
But the reality is a decision was made. What I would say is that in politics, and this is just Maze Jackson watching and everything that I've been involved in, and I've been involved pretty heavily. I've never seen that type of money invested both indirectly and directly. And I've never seen that type of money go directly into the hands of a black candidate. Never seen it. Mm-hmm. And I will also say that after the president made the endorsement, probably most people would have walked away from Duncan. They would have walked away from him. And say what you want, but they doubled back down on him, right? They doubled back down on him and they said, man, fight your fight. Fight it, do what you got to do. And I would tell you that you just watched the Democratic Party spend millions and millions of dollars to whoop somebody's butt, to keep a black legislator in line, take away all the plantation politics. Tell me when you've ever seen the carpenters, the plumbers, the laborers, any of them invest any of that time, energy, or effort in building up our community.
Well, they don't spend that kind of money to get us elected unless the speaker says there's something extraordinary.
In a black district, they don't even spend that money.
No, they never spend that kind.
Go ahead, Mark. I know you like. Go ahead.
No, it's just it's like it feels like a red herring to me. But what if they have done this?
I think it's. Go ahead. No,
go ahead. I just it's an absolute war. They're in a war footing in Springfield. You know that, and your guy switched sides in the middle of the war, and so
did he switch sides, or did you just say here's an leverage for our community?
Well, by switching sides,
I believe Mark's right.
I mean, when you really cut through it, the people in your community saw the votes for what it was. They saw it. You can spin it all kinds of ways. You can say plantation, throw all that at him. I kind of understand some of that. I do get where you're coming from, but really, he picked the wrong time to decide to. I can cut a better deal for myself over here. So he tried it. People saw through it with the help of the president of the United States, because I think it was still a little fuzzy out there coming right into it. Nobody quite. You were doing a good job.
What are you talking about?
You were earning whatever money they were paying you. And I just think you got to.
Mark's right. The problem with what happened was Ken had to go to, the as the devil himself to go to the other side. There was nobody else. It wasn't like you could leave Madigan and you could go over to Cullerton or something like that. He had to go to the governor, who I don't think you can find any black person who would say that the governor's on our side. So it wasn't. It was just a bad thing, bad timing. He had, if you wanted to make a statement, I don't think he could have done it that way and survived.
Well, I think that we saw that. And I think that it'll be interesting to see. I think that now, as we continue in our war footing, it'll just be interesting to see what. Here's what I think will be very, very interesting to see. I think that I believe that the speaker is going to pick up seats. I think that they're going to have their supermajority back come the next session. And then I think that then the ball is in their court. And I think that then the tough decisions, because they can pass everything and they can do it, but the state is still in a screwed up position. And without any change, without anything, I think you're going to, I don't know if you guys have seen that they have to automatically raise taxes with these schools. There's a lot of new triggers that are coming in as it relates to this. And so as we move into this next cycle, we'll be looking at a lot of tax increases and a lot of different dynamics that'll play in. And I think we're going to see who's going to be, how will they actually govern through this debacle.
The Democrats are on the high ground. See, that's the problem. People look at and when I say people, I mean the Democrats, and there's more Democrats, I think, in the state than Republicans, or will fall that way. They look at this as the governor does not want to do his job.
Well, they're going to pass a budget, though, in January.
Yeah, we'll see how all that works. That's like 2 years too late, Maze. There's so much stuff that's happened. No one is ever going to forget Rauner.
But here's what I think. I don't think Rauner worries. I think Rauner's going to leave regardless.
Hey, man,
he's going to be rich.
If I was a multimillionaire, I wouldn't worry either.
But my question is,
Maze, when I left the presidency, if I was a multimillionaire, I might not be talking to you today. I'd be somewhere else.
Though? So at what point do we make a deal? Or we just don't?
You mean with the other side?
I wish they'd make a deal tomorrow. And I wish they'd find something. I wish they'd find something to allow Rauner to at least claim some sort of win. I mean, Cullerton all along has been trying to give him a win, but he wants a real win.
Well, right. I here's what I just think. I think that we have a great opportunity. Let me back up. I think that we can afford to take a moral high ground. I think fundamentally, financially, I don't think that I'm waiting on a babysitting check. I don't think I'm waiting on a home health care check. I'm not waiting on any of it. And I think that at the end of the day, because I was at a fundraiser with the speaker, and he was telling everybody about how he was fighting for democratic ideals and how we had to do all this stuff, but everybody in the room was rich. Everybody. You talked around and they talk about what they're going to do. Everybody in the room is rich. So here's what you got. You got two rich white guys who are going to be rich, whether the state burns down or not. Meanwhile, you got all these people that are standing up fighting for something that they don't even know what the heck they fighting for or what they waiting for. And my thing is, we got to get a budget some kind of way. So let me plan. Well, or just don't do government business. All right, guys. I got Cook County Board, former Cook County Board Chairman, President Todd Stroger. You got closing remarks?
No, Maze, the only thing I would say is, from my experience, the power structure. I remember talking to Durbin and asked him what Congress was like, and he was like, the speaker makes all the rules. The whole power structure is like that in politics. When I lost my race, the power structure totally started ignoring me. I mean, Durbin was at an event. He didn't say hello. Quinn didn't say hello. Lisa Madigan did say hello. She was like, what? You did what you had to do, whatever. But most of the group, I saw Mike Quigley somewhere. He darted out of the room before I could say anything to him. They will leave a black man in a minute. Let me just say that.
Well, I will say this, and let me just say this for the record. I believe Stroger has been done the biggest political injustice in Illinois political history. I do not believe that for everything that his father did for the Democratic Party of Illinois, that any white elected official legacy would ever have been left in the lurch that Todd has been. And the unrelenting press post him not having that job to not even want to allow him to feed his family, as we see these legacies that are created, these districts that are built for people, and they just pass them on and on and on and on and on and on. So I'm going to say, for the record, Todd Stroger is still my friend, and y'all have done him a disservice, and to everybody that's watching, because they watch this, right? They watch it. I know
they always
watch
know what's
it.
going on.
They watch it. Y'all bogus. Y'all bogus. Okay, I'm sorry. Mark, go ahead. Closing remarks.
My only closing remarks would be, I certainly hope that after, with the selection in the rearview mirror, that you would come back to the Democratic Party, be a Democratic operative. I don't mean Democratic Party, Mike Madigan's Democratic Party, but we can use you over here on the left. We don't need you, getting too close with the Rauner folks.
Here's what I'm gonna say, and Mark, I appreciate that. And let me tell you what I'm gonna do. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make friends everywhere, right? See, here's the problem. The problem is they tell me I can't be friends with this guy over here, but they'll cut a deal over here. They'll tell me, oh, this guy is bad because he's bad. But didn't they have business dealings together until they got elected? Here's what I say. I say that whoever can advance my community, right? Now, I believe in doing well personally, but I believe we can do good while doing good. So I'm going to tell you,
if you can't help yourself, you won't be able to help anybody else. So you are correct.
You never have to, you could take a picture of me going into any room. You could take a picture of me coming out. You could take a video of me going in, take a video. You can always know that I'm going to try and get the best deal for my people. And I'm going to take care of myself. Because I got to eat, because I can't take care of nobody else until I take care of my own. But I will tell you that our undying loyalty has to be matched. Our undying loyalty has to be matched. So yeah, I'm on whoever side that is going to move our community forward. It's not about permanent friends, permanent enemies. It's permanent interest. You are tuned in to the Maystead Radio Show and Podcast. We have done it to you again. We are live, over 1,500 views. Watch us this week. My guest, Mark Brown from the Chicago Sun-Times and former Cook County Board President, Todd Stroger. Hey, I'll be tuned in next week for the Maystead Radio Show and Podcast.
Hard work being this damn good. They wondered how could I top the last CD, but the gift of these words make what you hear now compared to what you heard look easy. And the last album was just a sign that it was time for me to be released from the earth. Third trimester definition, last stage before birth, the womb of my mind. Now I'm expanding my nostrils, particles of a new man and an obstacle, a new testament, the beginning of new sentence, black eyed